قديش كان في ناس عالمفرق تنطر ناس وتشتت الدنيا ويحملوا شمسية، وأنا بأيام الصحو ما حدا ناطرني. قديش كان في ناس عالمفرق تنطر ناس وتشتت الدنيا ويحملوا شمسية، وأنا بأيام الصحو ما حدا ناطرني. صار لي شي 100 سنة عم بألف عوانين مش معروفي لمين، وديلن أخبار بكرة لبد السما بتشتي لي عالباب شمسيات وأحباب ياخدوني شنهار، واللي ذكر كل الناس بالآخر ذكرني. قديش كان في ناس عالمفرق تنطر ناس وتشتت الدنيا ويحملوا شمسي، وأنا بأيام الصحو ما حدا ناطرني، وأنا بأيام الصحو ما حدا ناطرني.
Thank you, Tony, for your
Thank you so
musical
much.
invocation for us today as we convene everyone at the beginning of 2026, our Chartres community calls, which we have been convening for the past 20 years, and now we're beginning our preparation for the Chartres Academy in August and the post-Chartres Academy pilgrimage in honor of Mary Magdalene. I'll be saying more about the Chartres Academy and the pilgrimage in a bit, but I wanted to welcome everyone in the light of world events as we begin 2026. It is clear from the U.S. Incursion into Venezuela, the ongoing genocide by the Israelis and the United States against the Palestinians, the turbulence that is taking place in Europe around the Ukraine war, the escalating tensions in Asia, that the world is not a safe place. And one of the reasons why Banafsheh Sayad, the co-director of the Chartres Academy, is not with us today is because she is in Los Angeles on her way to a major protest in Westwood to support the rising protests that are taking place in Iran. As you all know, there's been a tyrannical Islamic regime for the past 47 years in Iran that overthrew the Shah, which had been placed as the ruler in Iran by the United States and Britain and the Central Intelligence Agency, Mossad, etc. And now that regime appears to be in deepening trouble as protesters have been for the last 3 to 4 days, rising up in city after city across Iran. Mosques have been burned. Government buildings have been attacked. People are just staying in the streets. It's been reported by the media that upwards of 2,000 people have been killed by the regime. There's also the machinations of the United States and Israel to try to topple the regime. It's such an extraordinary thing to take in that the Islamic regime in Iran and the Netanyahu government in Israel and the Trump administration in the United States mirror one another. They're manifesting the same mentality. And just like here in the United States, people by the thousands have been protesting in the streets since the shooting in Minneapolis of a very beautiful young 37-year-old woman who was simply trying to drive away from an ICE encounter. We're seeing the breakdown of international law, the rise of coercive power, and we need to all understand that this period now between 2025 and 2030 is going to be probably the most consequential time in the history of our species. In her remarks at the opening of the State of the World Forum that we convened and many of you attended between the 14th and the 17th of December, Pippa Malmgren, very sophisticated American entrepreneur and technologist, said that we are in a once in a species moment. We're facing ecological collapse at every level, at a planetary scale. We're experiencing deepening instability and turbulence at every level of human affairs, not only in terms of what I just described, but in terms of the effects of social media, the rise of anxieties. We've unleashed artificial intelligence, completely unregulated, that is now demonstrating both sentience and agency, independent of human control. And technologically advanced non-human intelligences are here on Earth. Nature, AI, cosmos are present, impinging on human consciousness, influencing human affairs. And in the middle of all this, we humans need to understand the gravity of the crisis in which we find ourselves and the extraordinary opportunities for renewal if we simply take the time to ruthlessly analyze what it is that's actually going on. And as we discussed during the State of the World Forum, to learn the language of consciousness, to begin that process of learning the mother tongue, learning how to communicate intelligibly with nature, with cosmos, because they are here with intent. They are here to help. They are here to warn. They are here to collaborate. And so the extraordinary opportunity as we begin 2026 is to take in that we are in a once in a species moment, and therefore we are alive, all of us, at the most potentiated time in the history of our kind. And so how we understand, how we discern, how we communicate with these other intelligences that have come to our succor will determine how history unfolds, whether toward catastrophe because we're not paying attention, or toward a future worthy of our children under the 10th, 12th, 20th generation, because we make the right choices. And this is where the Chartres Academy comes in. This is where our upcoming pilgrimage to Chartres and to honor Mary Magdalene comes in. Because as Jung taught all of us, the process of individuation, the process of the renewal of our soul is ultimately led by the sacred feminine. It is in times of duress. It is in times of apocalypse. It is in times such as we find ourselves in, where the center does not hold and chaos reigns, that the sweet spirit of the mother whispers to all of us the way forward. So as we think about moving through 2026, let us honor the crises besetting us. Let us honor the opportunities that are beckoning us. And let us fall to our knees before the mother. And there is no place in all of Europe where the mother is more present than on the hill of Chartres. And it is toward that sacred place we begin to prepare ourselves for the journey to cleanse our souls and to inspire our spirits. So we will be talking a lot more about Mary Magdalene and what's in store in Chartres and the pilgrimage, not only later today, but also over the next several months before we meet in August. But today we thought it would be the most opportune time as we begin 2026 to call upon an astrologer of renown. You all know Caroline Casey. She's been with us numerous times before. Her clarity and her wisdom are well known to us all. So she's going to spend the next few minutes just providing her insights as to the astrological movements that are in store for us as we embark on this most consequential year. So Caroline, thank you very much for joining us. She's coming in from Washington, D.C., and then I'll circle back after she's done for questions or comments from any of you who want to interact. So thank you, Caroline. Thank you all for joining us. And I turn the program over to Caroline.
We are in accord. We are in accord. We are all in accord. And as everything that Jim said, and here we are incarnationally coinciding at this most crucial time and these most crucial next 3 months. So I always look up etymologically words, right? So I love ubiquity, means omnipresence, capacity of being in an indefinite number of places at the same time. Originally theological, ubique, everywhere, and ubi, where, everywhere. So it asks the question, it goes, where, everywhere. That's really great. So, yes, so who brought what to this apocalypse? And apocalypse means revelation, and therefore the breaking of spells. We have much to do. So astrology, really in its deepest form, is one of the best guides to being a fully participatory Earth citizen. Each planet represents a living quality of intelligence that resides within each one of us and connects us to the world. So as I speak it, and always aspire to translate into accessible, so you can feel it hum, feel these qualities within sparking. In times of great danger, liberating trickster comes alive in nature and in us. And it's the sine qua non. And as Jim said, it's participatory animism. It's the sine qua non. If we're just ordinary, no, it's time for us to practice, to tease into practice everything we've ever studied. What would it mean to study this? So, yes, these most crucial next 3 months, all the historians that I like, Heather Cox Richardson, and I'll bring in Tad Stormer, say these 3 months, and everything. And as it's long, we're heading into collapse and chaos and possible redemption. So to begin, I have coyote hair here because I lived with an actual coyote for 19 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, and 2 days. Ancestor Stella Coyote, who left her hair behind for us, that the trickster may come alive within and without. And so with Stella Coyote's coyote hair as a kind of muti means power and medicine from the Sangomas of South Africa, we say, O spirit of liberating, compassionate trickster within each one of us, connecting to that all that is good outside of us, open the path for each one of us to be danced into a place where we can do the most good, have the most fun, cultivate and contribute our considerable gifts to the community in a manner of reciprocal blessing. There we go. So we all want to suck the G out of kingdom, just and exhale it to where it belongs, which is everywhere. And what it leaves is the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So who brought what, So years ago, decades ago, learned from Aureka training, at hand. We have so many skills to use. So there's a banish fear, invite self-possession mudra. Just lightly, not clenched, lightly, light fists. It's sort of the Wakanda mudra. And just to do this, take a couple of breaths in. This banishes fear and brings in self-possession, Saturn. We inhale our Saturn. We've exhaled, we've outsourced our Saturn, our authority, our definition to sociopathic, malignant, narcissist dingbats, now as a grotesque animation of what's been brewing for a very long time. So just a couple of breaths here. We'll honor Saturn and Neptune coming together, and there's no better plant than mugwort for that. Mugwort strengthens boundaries and enhances dreaming. So may we all be safe enough to dream, safe enough to dream. And then Sangomas in South Africa, when I was there last, and they really embraced me, a great honor. And they said, we grew this kind of muti, it's called umpepu, for you. And if you are with dedicated medicine people, you may use this. And this opens portals between worlds, just due to the liberating telepathy of Zoom, and invites in the worthy ancestors, humans, plants, flora, fauna, fungi. We go, so we're opening the portals between worlds as a crucial dynamic, because we're invited to think, the Umpepu is very excited. It's very excited. It's very excited to meet you all. There we go, everyone. So, yes. So it's not what's going to happen. It's what's available with which to cooperate. And I love my friend Deborah Falmouth, whom I met in Syria when it was safe and wonderful to do so. And she said, in the West, we think of the future in front of us, and the past in back of us. Who cares? She goes, in the Middle East, it's the reverse. Try this. We're gazing at the past in front of us, and we're crafting the future by gazing at the caravan of our past mentors. Right? So think of all the past mentors, on every level. We're inviting them in. Chiron, a little planetoid, which is the whole history of mentors, just stationed and went direct on January 2nd from inward to outward. So cooperators are standing by invitation. Everything backstage would like to come help if we invite them. We invite by dedicated gatherings, by the power of our language, by the power of our dedication. We go, and to understand tyranny everywhere as a grotesque animation of a long brewing dynamic for when did this start. The illusion of sudden, right? We say something suddenly happened, and it's like, well, not if we're paying attention to the invisible. It's like woo, happening for a long time, and then suddenly it becomes visible. Complexity scientists, have been saying for a while, we're in a time of systems failure cascade. Usually connectivity is a wonderful thing, but when it starts to collapse, it's like all these networks. And they say there's something called event transition, which they feel is imminent. We can feel it too. And one of the reporters said it's like a red triangle, a red rectangle. It looks stable, but underneath, where we're paying attention, it's like poof, and then poof, And historians like Tad Stormer, when people say, "Well, how can we get our government back?" and he goes, "It's gone, it's gone." All of the systems into Pluto's cauldron, and what shall we ladle out? What shall we ladle out? Let's dive into that realm. So the U.S. shadow, everything. So let me turn to the chart, just for fun. The chart of now. Let me move this over here. Here we go. Okay, so this is just, all that an astrological chart is a stylized factual map. Everything real is symbolic. Everything symbolic is real. So it's a real map of right now from my little witch's house outside Washington, D.C. And look, as we're beginning, so this is it's really all of us. This is the horizon right now. And look, Uranus, liberating trickster, is rising due east. The only thing different from my more usual map is on the left is east, right is west. And here's dark moon Lilith, right? Dark moon Lilith, who embraces also Mary Magdalene. Remember, Lilith was Adam's first partner, assigned partner, but in the sort of esoteric Talmud, it said that she suggested, like, she wanted to make love on top. And Adam was like, I was just created, but no. And she goes, you're no fun. I'm out of there. I'm only interested in equal. Lilith is strong women, equal. It's a big theme. And then how threatened. Tyranny is compensatory. We need them. But I like that dark moon Lilith at 28 Scorpio, whose images for each degree of the zodiac is Inca princess pleads for the life of her children. We go, well, we are, all of us. And and as we dive in now, this as a guide, we go, oh, it's describing all of us. It's describing all of us. I look to the outer planets, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, as representing huge forces of nature's intelligence, and they are keepers of the whole big conversation, cultural and biological. And everything in the world pours into all of us in some customized way. So Pluto has just changed degrees. It was at 2 Aquarius just now, and when Renee Good was murdered. And the image for 2 plus Aquarius is a deserter from the military following their conscience to a wilderness path. And we want to pour that out into the memosphere. You can quit, what is horrible, come this way. Here's a taco, excuse me, and a much better story, and stories. So Pluto's at 3 Aquarius. I know that degree really well. We got intimate. The image for this degree is restoring a lost condition of spirituality to the world. And it's at 3 Aquarius. Look, it's exactly 90-degree angle squared to the moon at 3 Scorpio. And it says any community must welcome in the spicy, dark power of this in all of us. The image for the moon describing all of us is, a youth. We're all young to the ancestors. A youth carries a lit candle in a ritual. Feeling of nearness to mysterious forces. Passing on the light overcomes fear of one's own light going out. So it's like, poof. And Pluto in Aquarius, I remember this degree really well. It was last spring, because I always look at what's going on the screen, and I go, oh, there's a Moon-Pluto conjunction at 3 Aquarius, restoring a lost condition of spirituality to the world. Ooh, and I paused and noted the moment, because it was like, I can feel that. And it was at that exact moment that Pope Francis died in Rome, with Pluto and the moon exactly overhead. And it's like, what a class act, Pope Francis, restoring a lost condition of spirituality to the world. So he wafts that to us. Pluto in Aquarius for the next 20 years is all about, can we compost the toxic mimic of community, which is a cult? A cult is where people outsource their authority. As we were just doing now, we're insourcing our authority. Everybody who becomes self-possessed sucks the chi out of outer authoritarianism, so self-possessed beings. We have this powerful lineup of planets in Capricorn, opposite Jupiter, exalted in Cancer. Last night, there was an exact Jupiter, Earth, Sun lineup. It was raining here, but I could feel it. And Jupiter's at its closest into the Earth. Everything's trying to help us. So Jupiter is the principle of blessing, curiosity, and Jupiter is called exalted in the sign of Cancer. And I love that because I love this language. I go, why should Jupiter, curiosity, stories, blessing, be exalted in the sign of providing nourishment? Until I read that Scheherazade, great woman, storyteller, hero in the Arabian Nights, said people need stories even more than they need bread. And as we're approaching this chaos of systems collapse, it behooves us to craft stories. All of us are storytellers, and we go, whew, and to dedicate. Let's see what's opportune. So January 2nd is when Chiron, planetoid mentors went forward. So they're all available now by invitation. January 3rd was the full moon. And I was looking at that full moon. It was the full moon at 13 Cancer, right on the U.S. sun, opposite Capricorn planets with Jupiter nearby. And I was like, oh, what a great opportunity to invite kinship and wisdom into the structures of governance. But the Dementors, remember, again, mentors are the antidote to Dementors and malefactors. The Dementors hijacked that with pretty much exactly on the full moon, bombing and invading Venezuela. And it's weird because that was January 3rd. It was January 3rd, 1990 that the U.S. invaded Panama and incarcerated Manuel Noriega. These malefactors are so predictable. January 3rd, 2026 is when the invasion of Venezuela and the incarceration of Nicolas Maduro. Bad guy, irrelevant. Again, we look at these things. So the Dementors kidnapped this powerful full moon, and that's an important thing for all of us. On purpose? No. Every time Ronald Reagan bombed somewhere, it was always on a full moon. We don't know, by design, by happenstance, by being set off, But these guys in America were planning this for a long time, and it was pretty close to the exact full moon that they did it. So January 6th, a sacred date, 12th night. It's Epiphany. It's when the Magi, the astrologers, arrive, and it's like, no, we're taking that back too. But so what it says to us, it behooves all of us to positively animate the opportunities being so generously proffered, lest we leave them by default to the malefactors, right? So let's see what's here, this chaos. So in chaos, to know the forces in play, the myths permeating the culture, is to be able to participate. To not know them is to be possessed. So here we are. So Jupiter in Cancer. Also, Cancer is associated with history. History is the womb of time. And we all might know the saw, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. And some wag added, those who suppress the teaching of history intend to repeat it. I go, all right. So history, and gazing at the caravan of our past mentors. So history, I do love... we'll bring in Tad Stormer, but let's think of times when we might have been bamboozled and then we were de-bamboozled. This is a huge deconditioning time. Pluto's dark humor says, identity is flexible. All the outer structures and even all the old opinions on which we had based our identity, they're all gone. And Uranus soon will be in Gemini trining Pluto. Speak truth, be power, change mind. And I'm remembering we're all remembering when I was 12, a grown-up friend of my brother's asked me, like, Caroline, what do you think about the Vietnam War? And as a precocious 12-year-old, I said some obedient propaganda blather. And he said, I think that's complete bull. And then he gave me this lecture, and I'm like, thank you. Oh, I might have been bamboozled. Well, now is another one of those times. And with Tad Stormer, I highly recommend. He's giving a free class on the Constitution and on the history of resistance in the world, but the history of resistance in America, what's effective and what's not. And he says, we want to demystify, right? And I love this too, because I've been hanging out, I cross borders all the time, with people who adore the founding fathers and Madison and all. And it's like, yeah, Tad Stormer is de-bamboozling. And he goes, no, the 1787 Constitutional Convention, in which Madison, Hamilton, Washington were the old white guys who were like, no change of the Constitution. No, we want it just white men, property owners. That's it. And it was John Lansing, which you don't hear much about, but really important, and Sam Adams and a bunch of others, the anti-federalists who were like 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, due process of law, and they prevailed, right, thanks to them. So there's that, and we go, oh, I was almost bamboozled, but no, I like the story, the Masonic story of the founding of this country. Many stories, all at once. And then I'll come back into human form in a moment, but there's a couple of beings I just want to introduce. So here's all these Capricorn planets, which is sturdy mountain goat, part of all of us, can climb any mountain. Main issue is what mountain? Sometimes we climb the wrong mountain, but, I just climbed somebody else's definition of a good relationship or meaningful work, but I can see my mountain over there. Back up. And it is the realm of Saturn. So we go, well, where's Saturn? We go, Saturn's here at 26 Pisces, right next to Neptune. They're going to join hands, and on February 20th, they will conjoin exactly at 0 Aries, taking all of the past and growing something new. We've got work to do all over the world. Write a new guiding story. Write a new constitution, because everything's gone. And part of the opportunity there is many structures that were, kind of okay, but also not okay, gone. So the opportunity, and this behooves all of us everywhere, right, is to craft, a powerful new all-inclusive guiding story. And as we decondition, and Jim was referencing this, we come down to Uranus now in Taurus, which is participatory animism. Animism, not a belief, it's just good manners. And part of the teachings of Trickster, of Stella Coyote, is when I first adopted the young coyote, hosted Lakota Elder on air, and he goes, nothing smarter. Again, coyote, raven, seeds that sprout after cataclysm, necessary miracles, all of those things. And he said, we Lakota did not hunt alone. Those gifted, we want to quicken all of our skills, could go into a reverie or a trance, sometimes assisted by music. These open the portals and go backstage, where we would broker a working alliance across species borders. It's like the fantastic movie Flow. Well, there's many things to continue in the conversation. How do we navigate a collapsing world? By unusual alliances across species borders, across opinion borders, all of that. Pluto says identity is flexible. And whatever, when people say, who are you, what do you do, whatever we usually say, but, I say I'm an anarcho-entheo-astro-animist, and no matter how trippy, whatever we say, Pluto goes, good cover. We're all undercover agents disguised as whatever we think we are. It's fluid. So Capricorn, practical. Saturn in Pisces, mysticism, pragmatic mysticism, visionary activism. This is it. That's the radio show I've been doing for 30 years, the Visionary Activist Show. You can find it out there. And it's why also my colleague, Sean Patrick O'Donoghue, we're weaving Celtic Trickster and everything. We're convening our council of our winter council of necessary miracles. You can find out more about that at coyotenetworknews.com. But here we are nonetheless with much to do now. And I love, this is the changing chart of now, The midheaven, which is our work to do, has just changed. It's 9 plus Pisces, which is aviator, master of the high realms, sails across the sky, setting in motion projects that will benefit the next 7 generations. Yes. And when we look at democracy and the fantastic book by David Graeber, The Dawn of Everything, that he wrote with David Weimar, he spent 10 years writing it and then died. But he left with these words: always remember that human cultures, the history of humans gathering, have had the capacity to transform in what might seem a historic instant from authoritarian to egalitarian. And he gives many, many great examples. Mutual aid, who brought what? This also is rising. So Jupiter is the keeper of storytelling and the 5-act structure of storytelling. And so we remember, people who've taught us things, or the crucial conversation, the line. So years ago, a friend of mine who's a playwright said, the problem with the modern world is it's forgotten, right? What have we forgotten that we must remember? The 5-act structure of storytelling. And she said, Act 4 is, 4 acts is tragedy, 5 acts is redemption, cultural thing, or at the end of the Mass, go forth, right? And she said, some people end with Act 4, like we were good, but we were squished. The essence of Greek tragedy is it's going to get you. Oh, it did, right? But the 5th act, so she's like, come back here and write Act 5. So Act 1 is here we are. Act 2 is away. Whoo. Act 3 is oops, uh-oh. Act 4 is evil. Act 5 is redemption. So we're in Act 4. Well, they're all here at once, right? But we're in Act 4 and crafting the story to guide us to Act 5. The all-inclusive, irresistible story. And everyone, just by being here, by humming together, we have so many skills. So, 1, Saturn's at 26 Pisces, which is a vision of peace. Renee Good, young woman just murdered. Her Mercury, 26 Pisces, a vision of peace. And the huge outpouring now, the outpouring like, whoa, we cannot live through the dead, but we can have the dead inspire us to protect the living. And in all of her goodness, they raised, so she and her partner Becca, they raised so much money. They said, we have enough. Here, give it to these other things. Unlike the grifters, Erica Kirk or whatever, it's like we have enough. We have enough. If you've seen the video that was released by the cop filming with the not cop, the ICE thug, he released it thinking it would do him good. But if you've seen that, and I highly recommend it, first her partner is like, here, yes, film our license plate, and you come by later and talk to us. You can find us anywhere. We don't change our license plates. And as she walked away, she was like, you want to come after us? No, hey, dude, go get some lunch. Right? And then the murderer walks around, and there's Renee Good, beaming, so likable, like she's an Aries dragon, right? So likable. Her job is to be woofy. And she goes, it's all good. It's all okay. Hey, man, I don't hate you. She's a real Christian. And the ICE guy transfers the phone from his right hand to his left hand. He's filming, and he picks up his gun. Oh my goodness, we have so much to include here. Okay, I'm going to slowly be wrapping up. Let me go. But he picks up his gun and shoots her. And then afterwards says, fucking bitch. That's in the memosphere. I got death threats in my own little neighborhood that said, you fucking hippie bitch. I will kill you. It's in the memosphere. It's like possession. And so part of our dedication is to be artists of atmosphere, to create the atmosphere conducive to the good. And it's also, it's a long story. It's like that man possessed by whatever, it goes way, way back, could not stand an Aries dragon woman, two autonomous women who had the moral high ground. Hey, cool out. You can talk to us. I don't hate you. And that brings me to, well, I'll come back into human form. There's still much to talk about here, but I have the chart. To a book behind me, John Fugelsang's fantastic book, The Separation of Church and Hate. It's so good. His father was a priest, his mother was a nun. They broke their vows to marry and have him. So he grew up with the original teachings of Jesus. welcome the stranger, complete equality with women, no taboo people, all of that. And each chapter is genius. He wrote it for us. You don't have to be a Christian or not, but Jesus, good mentor, no matter what. And he wrote it with a dedication that for all storytellers and all journalists, that when you talk to people, you go, and what in the teachings of Jesus, or Mary Magdalene, what in the teachings of Jesus supports your current conduct? And so he says, don't argue with right-wing Christo-fascist nationalists. Make them argue with Jesus. Brilliant, brilliant, right? So there's that, and then a pretty good rundown on malignant narcissism by somebody who had studied it for years and was looking at Donald Trump years before he ran for president. And he goes, oh, that's a comet heading towards Earth. There are not many malignant narcissists because it's grandiosity, lack of empathy. These are huge, big themes: manipulation, aggression, paranoia, and sadism, the delight in cruelty. And he said, when he first encountered Trump back in the 90s, it's a comet heading straight to Earth. And then I go, Jupiter. The best astrological lecture I ever went to was an astronomer lecturing on Jupiter because he was so jovial and he loved this planet. And he said, Jupiter is the only planetary body that emits more electromagnetic radiation than it receives. Generosity. And NASA has said any solar system with a blue planet like Earth must have a gas giant like Jupiter, because Jupiter protects the Earth from asteroids and comets. And I go, all right, everything real, everything symbolic. What protects us from this comet of malignant narcissism? Not just in one person. It's an odious, possessive, it's in the field. So we want to dissolve that, use all of our skills to dissolve that and take action. And so we turn to Jupiter again, power of stories. So for all of us, what's going, I'll say it and translate it. Mercury quintiles the moon. Mercury quintiles Saturn. Saturn biquintiles the moon. A quintile is a 72-degree angle, division of the circle by 5. 5 is sacred to Venus. And it's, for everybody here who is willing, it's irresistible eloquence, storytelling. It's the capacity to have a true perception that then hums like a tuning fork in everyone. So we don't have to convince anybody, which means conquer. Remember, tyranny thrives on polarity. This is the testing part, right? They do outrageous things which makes us, on which it feeds. Right, so please don't feed the dementors. The art of peace, spiraling our nature's way of resolving conflict when conflicting forces come together. Spirals, the spiral dance, spiral music, and to invite in an atmosphere to cool out. But the quintile, it's really clean, right? Because we're guiding people to their own direct perception. It was as though people said to each one of us, now that you mention that, oh, I see that, right? So again, autonomous, equal citizens coming alive. My longtime friend Sylvia says, Caroline, the quintile is that, but it's also the capacity to open portals between worlds, which is what music and imagination and dedication do. And it's experiment time. So yes, so the comet, everything mythological, the mayor of Minneapolis, when he came out and to honor the tragic murder of Renee Good. And he said, we're swearing now. People who swear live longer. And it was appropriate. It was reverent irreverence. He said, and I have a message for ICE. Get the fuck out of Minneapolis. Well, his name he's Mayor Frey. And my colleague, Sean Patrick O'Donoghue, goes, that's mythic. And I go, tell me. He said, Frey is the brother of Freya. Freya is Venus. And Frey is the worthy, positive masculine, the keeper of the sacred oaths and the sacred oaks by which we swear, and he is the bringer of justice. And we go, oh, everything's speaking to us. Everything's mythological. If we are mythologically literate, we go, ooh, again, cooperators standing by. It's so beautiful. So there's many things to do. Oh, one last little thing I got to tuck in here. Whose story are we in? Whose movie are we in? So Wernher von Braun, Nazi war criminal, rocket scientist, killed many in concentration camps, designed the rockets that fell on all the neighborhoods of Britain and London, made many people dead and many orphans and widows. After World War II, America goes, "You're our kind of guy. Come on over here and start future NASA." And Wernher von Braun is obsessed with going to Mars. And he writes a really trippy science fiction, a bad science fiction novel called Project Mars. And in that novel, the ruler of Mars is called the Elon. And Elon Musk's father and grandfather read that and they go, "We're calling our son Elon, the ruler of Mars after the Nazi war criminal who wrote that book." And we go, "Whoa, but wait, there's a little bit more." Bill Barr, who was the Attorney General when Epstein killed himself, I like saying Epstein died of Epstein-Barr disease, his father, Bill Barr, ran the school where Epstein was first hired in New York. He also, Bill Barr, was obsessed with going to Mars. And he wrote an even more ridiculous, terrible science fiction novel about how getting to Mars required sleeping with teen girls. It's all one thing. So we are in a uninitiated Mars dystopian science fiction novel into the cauldron. Pluto gives us a giant cauldron into which to toss things. And Uranus is what liberating thing shall we ladle out? What liberating, all-inclusive, inspiring story shall we ladle out of this cauldron? I got to do one more thing. I can hear you clearing your throat. So, but we have huge opportunities. I'm just going to condense them all into, like, right now, Uranus stationing. Well, wait a minute. Jupiter stationing wants us to research history until March 10th when it goes forward, then create history. Uranus, nature's evolutionary trickster genius, retrograde, inward, goes direct on February 3rd, exact midwinter. Midwinter is one of the 4 cross-quarter holidays, Halloween, Candlemas, Beltane, Lammas, where power is especially eager to be invited in. What muti, again, means, muti is power and medicine. True power is that which heals. And we don't source it, we invite it by, opening portals between worlds. So Uranus will station, wonderful to compound the symbolic opportunities on February 3rd, exact midwinter, and go forward. So for all of us to say, if we entertain the possibility that we're moving into a field of dynamic, enhanced synchronicity, what is our our deepest dedication, our manifesto of dedicated devotion? Inward dedication strengthens and hones our outward signal, so we're more likely to be danced into place with those accomplices with which we're in accord. So one thing to feel here, retrograde planets appear to be moving backwards. So let's say all of us have a bow and a bowstring and an arrow. And in one hand we have the bow, in the other hand we're pulling the bowstring and the arrow backwards, retrograde motion. And the bowstring and the arrow part of all of us go, "Oh man, we're not getting anywhere. We seem to be going backwards." But the bow says, "No, you're really going to like this." To the extent that we pull in and back is the degree of forward effective velocity when we let the arrow fly, February 3rd onward. What's our target? And may our arrow be tipped with compassion, with tyranny as its target. Fatum, fatum, fatum. So, and then a last thing, and I'll slip things in while Jim's saying, but just the last thing, remember the beginning of Homer's Odyssey, and we can all say this in our hearts, as an invitation, sing to me, O Muse, and through me tell the story. Sing to us, O Muse, and through us tell the story. All right.
Thank you, Caroline. That was magnificent, my friend. That was exactly what we need to hear as we embark on a very consequential year in which the starkness of reality is going to require us to up our game and deepen our souls. And I think that you've enabled us to do that. I love your notion of participatory animism, because that's what we were pointing to at the State of the World Forum. That the message to even do the forum came from an ayahuasca journey in the fall of 2024 with Lynn Twist, where an entity said, call Jim Garrison and tell him to recreate the State of the World Forum. I hadn't thought about it, but the plant said, do it. So we did it. And the synchronicities that have been surrounding us as we brought, and this is the other thing I just wanted to comment on, because what you're saying is so profound. We're way past solutions. We're way past X or Y. We need a completely new paradigm. We need a completely new story.
Based on informed history, though.
That's exactly right.
That's right.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I just want to say that, this new story of the four intelligences and co-creating the future, and this understanding that we are not alone and we can't make it alone. We need to co-create with nature, co-create with cosmos, co-create with AI to fashion a future that will be worthy of the future we imagine. And the last thing I want to just emphasize from your remarks is this artistry of atmospherics.
To be artists of atmosphere.
Yeah, artists of atmosphere. We're at that level of nuance where we've got to really create meme. We've got to create a whole new kind of ethos. And I think the question that is emerging out of all this, which I think, given what we're doing with Chartres in August and with Anine van den Meer, one of the great scholars of these matters, with her new book on Mary Magdalene, and then going down to retrace the steps of Mary Magdalene in France, with Veronique Flaubert, whose family has been curating the Mary Magdalene tradition for over 300 years. Speak to us about how the divine feminine informs our journey through the chart that you just described.
Yes. Well, I love the Thai saying, because we were never colonized, we never lost our animism. The loss of animism is a sign of colonized mind, that we want to dissolve that. It's intrinsic to us. When we relax, it's our default setting. And, Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman were Christians and animists. I love what was the Underground Railroad. We need that too. I love what was written about Harriet Tubman, that she viewed the planets as glorious, helpful guides, and the heretical plants, the weeds that were healing, and the dark water that provided shelter. And then this beautiful thing that we can all hum. It said by the end of her life, she had become these things: a guiding star, a healing plant, a sheltering water. Maybe we become what we're dedicated to. But the spicy dark feminine. So I started including Dark Moon Lilith after the last election. Listening to the song "You Want It Darker," and I go, I guess we did. 1,000 candles lit for the help that never came. You extinguished the flame. You want it darker, and I go, I guess we did. Let's go positive, spicy, darker. Let's remember what we've forgotten. So Dark Moon Lilith, all the exiled, powerful feminine. And I like the idea that she comes with company too. Nemesis, the goddess who brings down unjust empire and unfair fortune. We go, come on in. Metaphors, whatever desire and dedication and metaphor we put on our altar, Jupiter says, I will fill it. And Jupiter says, I will make everyone here wealthy by their definition of wealth, not limited to money. What do you want to feel like? And what do you want to feel like to others? Right? And so this is our training. To react to anything is not free. To cultivate an ever-expanding repertoire of responses is to ally ourselves with nature's evolutionary genius. So, artists of atmosphere, we here, at this moment anyway, are not under reactive pressure. Many people are. And when I go to the comment sections of things, it makes me very reactive, going, how could you exist? And it's like, so it behooves all of us, right, to create a field, to waft out into the memosphere, cool, effective response, for those who are under greater pressure, But yes, absolutely, the teachings of Mary Magdalene, every apocalypse, right? Revelation. We want the Epstein files. We want the Old Testament files. We probably know this, but in Separation of Church and Hate, he also goes back into the Old Testament, full of teen sex trafficking. Here, rape my teen daughters. I mean, it goes way back. Like this whole thing that kind of leads us all the way up to the murder of Rene Good. It's all one thing, of those who's lost conscious kinship. Yeah, so with Mary Magdalene, with all who everything revelation, may everything be revealed that we need to have a democracy, and also come on in that it may inform each heart with effective compassion. Right. So yeah, and infinite more that you're dedicated to, and to say, yeah, but to go to powerful places. Well, every dedication, everybody here has been dedicated for a long time to things, and then what would it mean to tease this? And the Grail legend was an experiment to have spiritually cultivated people engaged in governance, right? But
Yes.
but the new
Yes.
governance, and when it allegedly ends, myths don't end; they get put on pause, and we hit play. But when it ends, the hip guys, Merlin and Arthur, go off to Pilates classes with the nymphs in the woods, to await the world's call at a time of danger. And we go, now, calling in everything, right? Now is the time of danger, and we are humbled. And that's where the word human comes from. Humus, humble, human. We're meant to be humble people in the dirt. It's in our name.
Well, we're drawing to a close here, everyone, but I want to emphasize two things and then get a final comment from you, Caroline. Number one, I hear from a lot of people that they can't bear what's going on and they want to turn off the news. This is one of those moments, everybody, where we need to be watching the news and paying attention to news all the time, because we're in one of those epochal moments where the entire global order is convulsing. Nature is convulsing. Politics, finance, economics, social affairs, it's convulsing. And we're right in the middle of it. And if you're not paying attention, you don't know where you're supposed to be or where you need to go. It's important that we know what ICE did to Rene Good a few days ago. It's important that we understand what's going on in Iran, the genocide in Palestine. It's important that we know so that we can act with wisdom. And the second point I think that's important for us to bear in mind is that we need to hold hands. If there's ever a moment where we need community, where we need to band together, not only say the Chartres Academy, but with nature, with cosmos, with this participatory animism, we need to understand that there's a matrix of support from the visible and invisible realms that are working with us, within us, to lead us. But we have to be aware what Gorbachev used to say, we need to be ruthlessly realistic about this time. And we need to be opening our hearts to whatever impulses are coming from nature or cosmos that are seeking to inform us. And it is through that collective discernment led by the feminine spirit that is going to see us through. So Caroline, just make a final comment on those aspects, and then we'll bring this to a...
And are you going to share the chat with everybody? It's really good.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, because as Kate says, we want to support our nervous system. Yes, we want to be. We're all self-calibrating. It's hard to turn off the phone for me, but my dogs help. Right? They go, put that thing down. Come outside. I'm like, oh, you're right. Oh, there's Jupiter. Thank you. Right. And so may all of us have a metaphoric cloak of living ducks that volunteered, so that anything not useful just washes right off like water on a duck's back. But we're informed. 1930s Germany, a lot of astrology, a lot of yoga, but completely detached. Right. We don't want to be Hina in a honky in a hot tub, personal salvation, connected. But then just the dedication is let me know, those things, and may each like, whoo, turn it off, and may it be an incentive to compassionate ingenuity, as a dedication. And then there's so many people out there watching the news, so you don't have to, who are distilling it into great meaning. And as you said, all we have is us, right? All we have is us, but us is a lot. And then just, there's, remember the Dementors want to get the reaction. So there's the bots, or Colin Robinson is the energy vampire in this great series. And he goes, if I'm really low on energy, I go online and I can have hundreds of people furious with me in minutes and I feed on it. Right. And we go, right. So to be immune to bots. Immune to bots, right? Immune to bots going, And may we all be agents of liberating blessing. May it go well for you. And for the tyrants, we are friends of your soul, and therefore we are friends of your indictment, because it's not good for anybody to get away with that horror, right? So, last thing. Okay, do I have 30 seconds? Maybe. Do I have 30 seconds? Okay. All right. Yeah. It's just the last thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's a raven rattle from the Tsimshian Indians, and it's William Kittredge writing about it. And he says it's a percussive musical instrument used in elaborate ceremonial dances. A simple rattle like the ones we all shook in childhood. Isn't it interesting? We give children rattles to go into a trance. Let's remember that. And he says it's this one's carved into the form of a mythological raven, trickster, caught in the act of stealing the sun, our freedom, back from captivity. That's a striking idea, but not so half remarkable as the beings we see riding on the raven, a human figure reclining back in a posture of sexual openness, and a frog crouching over as if preparing to mount, and their tongues, or tongue, red and slender and arcing. It's a single tongue. And a most remarkable thing is it reaches from human to frog and frog to human. It's all the same in this vision, in which we share tongues with the animals in some perfect sexuality, while our trickster raven redeploys the sun, as in Raven brought the light. The unknown person who made that rattle is a glory to our species. Here we go. See, that raven rattle says, this is how we are, inextricably one with everything, however tricked, riding in fact on the back of trickiness itself. Here we go.
Brilliant. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you all. Contemplate coming to Chartres with Anine and with Andrew Harvey and Veronique Flaubert. There's going to be an extraordinary movement of the feminine, which we need urgently to guide us on our way. But Carolyn, magnifique, my friend, magnifique. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month, and consider carefully your participation in our community and our upcoming pilgrimage in honor of the Divine Feminine in Chartres and Mary Magdalene. Bye for now.
Bye for now.